Hi, Shiri. How are you? How was your week?
Great to be. Thanks for having me here.
Likewise. I want to talk about something that I hear everywhere. Like, I think my father even knows what GPT is. What is it? It's everywhere. LinkedIn, on Twitter. People are writing, using GPT. The cashier in the supermarket. What is it?
My husband, the social scientist, at date night brought up ChatGPT, and I was like, now everybody knows what it is. And it's so comical to me because we've been working with GPT for several years now, right? And overnight, with the release of ChatGPT, suddenly everybody knows what it is, right? It's release of the interactive chat element. The fact that you can modify it has made this gone viral completely. Right now, students are writing their term papers with ChatGPT, and like everywhere. But GPT technology has been here for some time, right?
Let's talk about artists. For example, if I'm an author, what does the future hold for me?
I would argue that artists of all kinds, whether it's authors, journalists, poets, what have you, now it's writing. Before it was, visual. There's going to be more visual artistry coming from AI. They're just as important as ever, because it's just that their nature of their work is changing, because you have to now innovate in ways that are beyond what GPT can give you. And if you look historically, right, you could have said the same thing. Oh, photography. Well, now I don't need to paint anymore. Guess what? It just changes what painting means, right? Now suddenly painting is not about trying to create realistic images that capture reality. Now it's about making something interesting in a different way. So I would argue that technology, even as advanced and amazing or not, depending on your perspective, as ChatGPT, it doesn't obviate the artistry, it doesn't obviate writing, but it means that now you have to be more creative and you have to innovate. And GPT becomes a tool that the artist can use in their art.
So it's not video kill the radio
star. Well, video killed the radio star right up until podcasts came along, right? So there's a resurgence, a renaissance, and yeah, I would argue that there is going to be art just the same. It's going to be different.
Okay. What about people? There's so many jobs. Yeah, human beings. I mean, so many jobs are on the line here. So many layoffs anyway with the state of the economy now, the global economy. So now we have machines doing everything, marketing, tweeting for you, writing blog posts for you, coming up with business ideas, business plans, anything.
Well, there's different sort of schools of thought here, right? One school of thought is actually people won't need to work for a living, not right now, but in the future, in the near medium term future, that the nature of employment is going to become superfluous. And there are people who argue that everybody deserves a living wage regardless of whether they're actually doing any work or not. And then we can all become more free to engage in leisure. And we just, if you want to work, you work. And if you don't want to work, you don't work. And that's it. I think that we are pretty far away from that still. But it is true that certain lines of work are going to disappear. And depending on the challenge of the job, those jobs are going to disappear. But you don't see any horse and buggy drivers around these days, right? So this is not news. It's new and it's not news.
Right.
It's a different spin on things.
I have another question. What can't GPT do, at least for now?
GPT is really, really smart and really, really stupid at the same time. You can make it these amazing works of art, and then you ask it some questions and it won't be internally consistent, right? Like 3 minutes in, it's going to say something that completely contradicts something that it said before, because it doesn't have that kind of basic logic, and basic consistency checks are not there.
So we really need someone to read through
There's modes of failure, right? There's modes of failure where you can make GPT do funky things. And, with all of the amazing advances of sort of the quote unquote deep neural nets, right? You have layers and layers of these statistical modeling that just build on each other, but they don't have this very, very basic logical stuff that like a 5-year-old could do, right? The sun's gonna rise tomorrow, and it's gonna always do the same thing. And GPT might know that, it might be able to spew those facts, but then you could ask it something really basic, and it will just say something really idiotic.
So here's a new job. Here's a new title: proofreading GPT. That's a
Right.
new job. I don't know, what would it be, like CPG or something like that.
Right.
One
Copy
last
editing,
question.
copy editing, fact checking GPT.
Yeah. One last question. You know, there's a lot of toxicity around the internet, a lot of biases, a lot of disinformation, misinformation. Is GPT, the chat, bulletproof?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So if you look at how OpenAI has tried to handle this, and in general, a lot of these big companies, right? They say, oh, we're limiting toxicity. We won't let GPT put things out that are violent, that are hate speech. But under the hood, right? GPT is trained on the internet, right? At the very core of it, it's trained on everything in the internet, and so it's impossible to leak proof all of that, right? There are going to be biases, and there are going to be toxicity that is coming in more subtle, manifesting in more subtle ways, and it's impossible to leak proof. It's not like a basement where you could say, oh, I'll just leak proof the walls and I'll be fine. So there are mechanisms on the front end that say, no, I won't give you toxic content, but you can't avoid. That's just the stuff that they're aware of, right? Biases and the toxicity, the hate speech, they're still trained. You can't just think, oh, it's they fixed it, right? Because if it was that easy, then we would have fixed hate speech in general. We would have not had that, right, long before that. It's a lot more complicated than that.
So that's another job for that CPGPT that I just invented. They have two roles: proofreading as well as leakage detection of hate speech and biases. Thank you so much. Till next time. Bye.
Bye.